Ever get that feeling, like life's throwing 50 different things at you, everyone's got an opinion, and somewhere in the quiet, there's this little hunch.
Yeah, that little whisper.
A tiny whisper you almost ignore because, well, life's just loud.
That internal whisper is exactly what we're tuning into today. We've been looking at unlocking your intuition, a guided meditation for beginners. It's a really interesting perspective on this whole idea of intuition.
Exactly, because the way this source puts it, it's not about like having a crystal ball or anything.
No mystical hotline, yeah?
Right. It's about recognizing something that's already part of you.
Yeah.
So our mission here is to really dig into what this guide is saying about it, why it matters, and how someone can actually start to connect.
And the core idea right from the start is that it's not something you go out and get.
It's already there, inside you.
That's such a key point. It completely reframes intuition. It's not some elusive external force. It's an inner resource.
Yeah, the text even calls it a whisper you've been ignoring.
Which suggests it's always been there, maybe just overlooked, like re-meeting an old friend.
Right. And it uses these really gentle descriptions. A gentle nudge, a quiet voice. It makes you stop and think, haven't I always had something like that? Not a big booming voice, but just a feeling.
A subtle sense, yeah. Something that's kind of been with you all along.
Exactly. And the source is pretty clear, isn't it? It steers right away from any talk of magic tricks or mystical predictions.
Totally. It grounds intuition in this idea of accessing your own inner clarity, something you already possess.
So less about the supernatural.
And much more about your own, natural inner knowing.
I really like the imagery it uses to describe finding that inner space. It talks about being in the center of a vast forest.
Oh, yeah, that part.
And the constant chatter in your head just sort of fades.
Yeah.
Like leaves drifting to the forest floor.
That's such a good way to put it. It really helps you picture letting go of the mental clutter.
Which isn't the real you anyway, right? Just noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the meditation it describes is presented as a doorway.
Right. A door, yeah.
With a guidance that already lives inside. That whole metaphor of an inner journey of finding a path inward is really compelling.
It really is. Especially, when you think about how much stuff comes at us every day. Decisions, noise.
Constant distractions, yeah. The source actually calls intuition your secret compass in all of that.
A secret compass. I like that. An internal guide to cut through the external chaos.
And what's really interesting is how the text lays out the practical benefits of using this compass.
Okay, like what?
Well, it suggests it can help us make better choices without overthinking. Sometimes you just know, but then you talk yourself out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Agonize for ages,
Yeah.
then realize the first thought was right.
Exactly. And it also mentions maybe avoiding unnecessary pain by tuning into early warnings.
So not like predicting disaster, but maybe just noticing. A bad vibe. A subtle no.
Precisely. A feeling of discomfort you might otherwise ignore. And it even links it to feeling more connected, creative, and confident.
That's a powerful combination.
Yeah, it really is. And the source makes a point of saying this isn't some exclusive gift.
Right. It says the power of intuition isn't reserved for the few.
It's a skill anyone can develop.
That feels really important. Accessible, not elitist.
Absolutely. And then it gets practical. It outlines what this beginner's meditation aims to help you do.
Okay, so what are the steps?
Well, things like quieting the mental noise, which we talked about, learning to actually feel and trust those subtle nudges.
Trusting them, that's the hard part sometimes.
It is, and crucially, figuring out how to tell the difference between fear and genuine intuition.
Ah, yes. The big one. Fear versus gut feeling. How often do we mix those up?
All the time. Fear can be so loud.
Well,
The source also talks about building a daily habit of listening.
so it's a practice, like learning anything new.
Exactly. Not a one-off magic pill. It's about building a relationship with that inner voice.
And it keeps circling back to that core idea, accessing the clarity that already lives inside you.
Uncovering it, not importing it.
It really makes you wonder. The source actually asks, point blank, what if you already know?
That's a provocative question.
It challenges that whole idea that we always need external answers, external validation. Maybe we have some answers already.
Yeah, it's just maybe the noise of life has simply drowned it out.
So the wisdom isn't gone.
Just obscured, buried under all the other signals we pay attention to.
And I found it really comforting when it calls intuition a birthright,
Yeah, me too.
not a superpower, just part of being human. It kind of takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes it feel natural. And then there's that lovely image it uses, coming home.
Yeah. Yeah. The meditation isn't some big scary quest.
No, it's framed as just returning, gently coming back to this voice that's always been there.
And the description of the voice itself is so kind, softly, lovingly, without judgment or fear.
Offering simple guidance, things like, go this way, not that one, wait, now.
It sounds incredibly supportive, trustworthy.
And what's really insightful is how it connects that voice to the real you.
The you underneath all the doubts and worries and distractions.
Exactly, that core self. So connecting with intuition becomes this act of, self-discovery, getting back in touch with who you really are at your center.
So the meditation is the practice ground for that listening.
Pretty much. The Source lays out what you practice. Drop into stillness. Learn to spot the difference between fear and intuition that comes up again. It's clearly vital.
Key distinction.
Listening without forcing answers. Just observing, trusting.
And building confidence slowly, through small steps.
Right. Little by little. And it loops back beautifully to authenticity. This is not about becoming someone new.
It's about remembering who you are.
Exactly. Unearthing your own wisdom, not chasing something external.
The Source also makes a really striking point about, the modern world.
How loud it is.
Yeah. It says, the world will keep getting louder, but your intuition, it stays steady, quiet, clear.
That contrast is powerful, isn't it? Like an anchor in the chaos.
A constant, reliable guide inside no matter what's happening outside.
And it directly links tuning into that guide with making better choices. Choices that are actually aligned with you.
Which is ultimately what we all want, right? To navigate life with more self-awareness, more trust in ourselves.
Definitely. And the feelings it connects with that, trust, freedom, power, and peace.
Yeah, those are pretty compelling motivators. Freedom, power, peace. Who wouldn't want more of that?
Indeed. And that final image, the door, it just ties it all together so neatly.
The meditation isn't the end goal.
No, it's the door, the way in. And the Source suggests that the version of you who trusts your own wisdom...
That version already exists.
Already there, just waiting on the other side for you to, turn the handle.
So if we step back and look at the whole picture from this deep dive, this Source, unlocking your intuition, it presents a really grounded view.
Very grounded. It's not mystical woo-woo.
No. It's about recognizing and learning to trust an inherent inner wisdom, something we all apparently have.
Yeah, and it's about shifting focus. Less looking outside for answers, more listening to those subtle cues inside. That quiet voice.
Right. And practices like the meditation it describes are just tools, really.
Tools to help quiet the noise, create the space needed to actually hear that inner voice.
And eventually, maybe, learn to trust it.
Exactly. That's the journey it outlines.
So maybe something for you listening to think about as you go about your day. What might actually change for you? If you really started to believe in and have faith in that inner voice, the one that this Source says is waiting on the other side of that door.
It's definitely a thought worth sitting with.
Maybe a journey worth exploring, reconnecting with a wisdom that perhaps has been inside you all along.